time, I'm going to have Chief Thomas Intrieri come up, name spelled Thomas, last name Intrieri, Intrieri. Just a couple things to keep in mind on this. He'll be giving some basic information, and then Glendale Police Department is conducting the criminal investigation while we conduct a simultaneous internal investigation as well. I will have Chief Intrieri come on up.
Okay, thank you all for being here today. So last night, January 29th at approximately 10:40 p.m., a Peoria police officer was on patrol in the area of 91st Avenue and Peoria Avenue. During that time, the officer noticed a male subject acting suspiciously by the bus stop adjacent to a building. That building was a business that at that time had been secured. Based on the subject's behavior, the officer made the stop and initiated contact. As he began to engage the subject with a verbal contact, the subject then took off running in a southwesterly direction through the Circle K parking lot at that intersection of 91st and Peoria. At that time, the subject fell forward, and as he rolled forward, he rolled over and withdrew a firearm from his waistband, pointing it at the officer. The officer's training kicked in, and he immediately moved and returned the threat with his firearm, where he shot and struck the subject one time, perhaps more. The criminal investigation will be able to reveal more to that detail. The short foot pursuit happened very quickly. It was a rapidly evolving event, and it tells you how quickly things can change in our line of work. The subject sustained life-threatening injuries, and he was transported to a local hospital. At this time, the subject has been identified as a 43-year-old male who has succumbed to his injuries. We're not going to release the identification of that subject due to the fact next of kin notification has not yet been made. As Sergeant Shepard had already stated, Glendale Police are the investigating agency for this as part of the West Valley Investigative Response Team. The officer involved is a 3-year member with the Peoria Police Department and was wearing an activated body-worn camera at the time. During a review of the scene, the investigating officers did recover a handgun. Fortunately, we are thankful at this time that no officers or innocent bystanders were injured during this time. But I'd like to bring to note that this is the third incident in the month of January that here in the city of Peoria, law enforcement has engaged subjects with firearms in deadly encounters. I think it's important to note that the dangers and the threats that are out in our society today, that our police officers are trained and equipped and supported and moving forward out into the public on a daily basis in order to provide a safe and secure community for all of us to live in, is being met with a greater frequency that we have not experienced in the recent past. So I'd like that to bring that point to your attention. Phoenix PD had an officer-involved shooting January 5th. Peoria had a officer-involved shooting January 12th, and then last night, January 29th. So it certainly is an alarming trend. And we ask for your thoughts and prayers for law enforcement in general and the Peoria Police Department's family. We appreciate your support and your patience as this investigation is ongoing. And we ask that your questions are brief in context, as we are very limited in our ability to respond at this time. Go ahead. Any questions?
Can you go into the nature of what the conversation was that the officer had with the man before he started bleeding?
We don't have access to that information at this time.
Can you talk about the training? I mean, this is, almost midnight, and he's involved in foot pursuit.
Right.
And the guy just plays a weapon.
Yeah, we talked about object identification a lot in law enforcement training, specifically when to recognize when a threat is being presented. And during the high-stress types of environments, such as what was experienced last night, your adrenaline is going, your thought process is accelerated, and your visual acuity can be at times challenged. I'd like to commend the actions of this officer based on what we know at this time. It seems like his training was right on in terms of his response to meeting the deadly threat. Based on what we did learn, that the firearm was withdrawn from a holster on the subject and pointed directly at the officer at the time for him to be able to then move into a position where he could then meet that threat with deadly force efficiently and without bringing harm to the public at large is to be commended.
You mentioned that 3 police shootings have occurred in the city of Peoria so far in January. Can you say how that compares to, say, previous Januaries or previous months?
I don't have those statistics at this time.
But it is an uptick. What
I would see it as, yes, as an uptick, an abnormality, we'll say.
Do you have anything to attribute that uptick to?
No, not at this time. But I think it's just something that's worthy to note in that it brings to light the reality of the threat that exists in our community, that our officers are facing each and every day, and that it's not as portrayed often in cinema, in the movies, in Hollywood, that these are very real, real case scenarios that happen. And so I only bring that out because I ask that the public keeps that in mind and keeps their thoughts and prayers in support of the men and women that are out there trying to provide a safe environment, safe community for all.
Did the suspect ever fire their weapon back at the officer?
I don't know the answer to that, but because it's an ongoing investigation, I'll refrain from giving you any response specifically to that. At this time, it's unknown, so.
Have you had an opportunity to have a conversation with the officer or any of the officers in Peoria, and what would you share or could share with us about conversations?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to speak with a number of officers. Specifically, last night I spoke with several officers that were both on scene, and then officers throughout the department, both today and after the previous incidents. I think collectively, the level of integrity and professionalism that I've witnessed during my time here has been exceptional. There's a lot of pride and purpose and a lot of passion in the job that's being done on a daily basis. And I find that to be very comforting from the standpoint of having the opportunity to represent them in the very best possible environment. They're very upbeat, they feel supported, and they feel valued by the community. The community has always been a very supportive community of our police department. And I think that continues moving forward, and I think our officers recognize that. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Sheffert for any additional questions at this time. Thank you.
Were there any additional questions, or? I think Chief answered most of them.
Anything you want to say to the community about, obviously this is over with, but anything they need to be concerned about in the area?
I think some of it's just the isolated incidents that have happened here. I think that area has been reopened. Like Chief said, these situations can change instantly, as we saw last night. But the men and women go out there and do the job every day, and we're well supported by our community here.
I know a number of departments have critical incident briefing videos where they show snippets of body camera footage. Do you know if Peoria Police is going to do one for this shooting, or when people might expect the body worn camera footage to be made available?
So that can be a matter of time. Glendale Police Department is the lead criminal investigating agency on this case, so that will all be done through them. As far as those critical incident videos, we historically do not do those. All right. Thank you guys for coming.